Hey everyone. Hey, this is Marti Angel, your host of the Mujer de EXITO Unbounded show. I am so incredibly grateful for each and every one of you. Today I am not showing my face, and there are a few reasons for that, but that's for another day. So I hope that you listen up. And today is a special one, and it's called Raised by Sixth Sense Mom and Intuition in the Age of AI. So it's actually a perfect time for me to record with you using your imagination on what I look like. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Mujer de Éxito Unbounded. I'm Marti Angel, your host. And I just want to say thank you for being here. And if you're just logging on, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you always know when I share an episode, which is once a week, usually drops here on Wednesdays, and the audio drops everywhere you listen to your podcasts on Friday. Gracias por estar aquí. Hola, hermosas. Mi nombre es Marti Angel, su anfitriona de Mujer de Éxito Unbounded. I'm so happy everybody's here, but let's get into it. Today, I want to share something deeply personal. Something my daughters tease me about all the time. They say that one day they're going to write a book called Raised by a Sixth Sense Mom. And honestly, I really think that it would probably sell, because I have known since I was 4 years old that I experienced the world that we are in, this world, differently. I remember very clearly being in the back of the seat of my mother's car, in my pajamas, sick with the flu, but determined to make it to my dance recital. Yes, amigas chulas, even at 4 years old, I was driven, terquita, focused, My mom always said, ay, niña. So on the way there, I suddenly yelled at Mom, Ma, I have to throw up now. Ma, pull over. I don't know if that's really what I said. I was 4 years old, but in my recollection, that's what I say. So she pulled over. Rushed to my side. As I got out of the car, I remember standing there in my beautiful yellow pajama gown that my mom had made for me. And I was so worried that I was going to throw up on it. But she calmed me down, held my hair back, hugged me in the stomach with one hand and my forehead on the other. All the while I was bent over on the side of the road, hurling my guts out. But in that moment, small and shaking, I heard a voice. Escuché como que alguien me estaba hablando. It was a calm, clear, certain voice. And that voice just basically was loud in my head, and you could hear it. I mean, I could hear it. You can do this. And I looked up at my mom, sort of scared, and she looked at me. And I said to Mom, yes, I do. And she looked at me and she says, okay, mija. But she had this look on her face like, ooh, my daughter is a little loquita. I could swear that's what she was thinking. But anyway, if you're still listening to this story and you are here on the Coach Marti Angel YouTube channel, please remember to subscribe and hit that bell. If you're listening to me wherever you listen to your favorite shows, make sure to download this episode and share it out. All right, going back to the story. I looked up at my mom and I said, "See, Mommy, I do. Yes, I do." And like I said before, she looked at me like I was loquita. When we got back in the car, a wave of peace washed over me, and I heard again a voice that said to me, "You're going to be fine." And I heard that voice as Mom put a cover over me and laid me down in the back seat because we were not quite there yet. I happened to fall asleep. And when I woke up, my mom says I woke up and I said, yes, I'm going to be fine. My angel voice is taking care of me. And in Spanish, my mom said, here's what I said because I was speaking Spanish. Voy a estar bien, mi angelito está platicando conmigo. Right? And that was the beginning. That was the beginning. And you're saying, like the beginning of what, Marty? As I grew up, let me share with you. As I grew up, I thought everyone heard voices in the quiet. I did, so I figured everybody else did. I thought everyone saw colors around people. I thought everyone could feel the energy shift before something happened. And it turns out that not everyone does. I honestly believe, because I've been, dealing with this since I was a kid, I honestly believe that we all have this thing, this power, this gift, this whatever you want to call it. But many of us just don't practice or make time to practice listening to it. So let me share. I began noticing that when I thought about someone, they would call. If I was thinking about someone, they would either call or show up in my life somehow. And I know that you guys have all felt that as well. And then in the dream world, I began dreaming things that later unfolded exactly as I saw them. And at night, when the earth felt still, I would hear whispers, soft whispers in the wind. I could hear the soft whispers in the wind. One evening backstage during a performance, I told a fellow dancer not to go down the stairs. I just felt like she was distracted. I just knew, and she was not really there. She wasn't present. And so I looked at her and I said, don't go down those stairs, because I saw her looking at the stairs. She ignored me. And so as I looked at her and I said, Isela, don't go down there. We're going to be on next. And she ignored me. I kept telling her, don't go down the stairs, but she was distracted and she just wanted so badly to see what was down those stairs. It was we were in the back of the stage. It was dark, and she just kept ignoring me. Suddenly, I closed my eyes, I clenched my fists, and I could say, ooh. I remember saying, ooh, if you go down there, something's going to happen. And suddenly, I just felt like my whole body was on fire. I closed my eyes, and I looked at her in my mind, and when I looked at her in my mind, when I saw her, I saw flames surrounding her. And just as I saw the flames surrounding her and I was feeling my body get really hot, she screamed out, "Help, I'm on fire, ayúdenme." I opened my eyes real quick. I looked down where she was because she had started to go down the stairs, but there were no flames. But she was screaming and jumping up and down and kind of shaking and brushing things off of her arms, but there was nothing there to brush off. And she was going, "Hi, hot, hot, hot. I'm burning," she kept screaming. And my body felt hot. And she felt them. So in that moment, in that chaotic moment, I realized something powerful and frightening. My thoughts had force. My energy carried weight. I looked down at my hands and they were still clenched. I almost cut into the palms of my hand, and I opened my hands and I opened my eyes and I shook myself out, took a deep breath, and I was like, Isela, are you okay? And in that moment, I felt a release. She was crying, but I felt a release. She was not burned, but she kept saying, I feel hot still. So, we went on stage and everything went back to normal. I apologized. We told our parents. They said probably something unusual happened. They said, don't ever go down there. But anyway, the thing was that it was over, right? But it was so scary to realize in that moment that my thoughts had force. And as time went on, other things started to happen. Later, my dreams became very lucid. I knew I was dreaming and I was watching myself and I could pull myself out of that dream. And then it got crazier. I would see events in my dream before they happened. And I went to a few psychics because people said, you got to go to a psychic so they can tell you what's going on. And the only one that really knew what was going on was my mom. So she took me one day to a psychic. But that psychic then sat there and said, ooh, you are stronger than I am. I could tell by your energy. And then I thought, well, that's not really going to help me, is it? But the most important guidance came from my paternal grandmother, La Curandera. She told me, you have a gift. You need to learn to manage it. And mijita, escúchame bien, listen to me carefully. You need to learn to manage it and hide it because people will fear what they don't understand. Porque la gente siempre le tiene miedo a lo que no entiende. So my grandma said, mijita, escóndelo, which means hide it. So I ended up hiding it. I wouldn't tell anybody. I would, do my best to stay present to make sure that I wasn't thinking bad things on people. And I began to notice that if I were to look at somebody and I immediately looked at them and thought, ooh, I like that dress, or they look so cute, or I like that haircut. If I found something within that person, within that moment of that person that was positive, that's what I focused on. So I learned to do that. And I never told anybody. Yet people were finding out. One time, I remember so clearly, I was in my early 20s, and I live in San Diego, so I had gone to Escondido, and there they had what was called a prayer circle. And I went, and there was, a group of indigenous people, Indians and other things, and they had a circle, and it was the most amazing experience. But as they were dancing around, they asked us all to sit in a circle and to close our eyes as they sang and played the flutes and did all kinds of things. And then all of a sudden, and I remember there was this long pipe thing that when they played it, it would sound like wah, 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 wah. I don't know if you've heard that instrument before, but I swear I got hypnotized with that sound. And all of a sudden I felt my body going in circles, right? I was circulating my body. It was going in circles. And all of a sudden it stopped. And the person that was conducting, the circle said, okay, everybody, there are some messages that came up. So if everybody could just be quiet, they will pick you out and give you messages. So I thought, there's about 30 to 50 people here. For me to get a message would be really something because I've never been here before, but lots of people had been there before. So all of a sudden, the gentleman, or I remember the Indian that was actually playing that thing, looked up at me and he said, "You." And I go, "Me?" And I thought he was talking about my girlfriend sitting next to me. And he goes, "No, not her, you." And he said, "This is a message for you." And he said, you are very powerful." He said, "You're an old soul. You're very powerful. And you are living your life right on the cusp. If you can either go to the light, or you can go to the darkness, because you are riding the thin line between both worlds." I didn't, I was sort of taken back, and I remember that I didn't ask any questions, but at that moment in time, he said, "You have the power to either become a negative force or a light force." And I thought, oh my goodness. So lots of things happened after that, but for many years, I only used my power in my Reiki sessions, and I would open myself in meditation. And then I've done some quiet healing work, and I used to teach meditation. I used to teach yoga. And that's when I know that when I'm in that space, it's like my whole world opens up. My whole body is my world, right? So my whole body opens up. If you can imagine this energetically opening up, and I just feel like this white light coming in, and it's just moving through my Reiki sessions. It got to the point where from doing like 3 Reiki sessions a day, I had to cut it down to maybe 1 to 2 Reiki sessions a day, because I was putting a lot of work into channeling for these people. I finally learned boundaries so that I could protect my energy. Empecé a proteger energéticamente. Me empecé a proteger energéticamente yo misma. And yes, sometimes my guides have a sense of humor. So this that I'm sharing with you, hermosas chulas, this is something very personal, something that I've never, ever shared before. And to this day, my daughters are still threatening to write that book. But let me share a fun story. Let me share a fun story, a fun experience, right? So part of what I love to do is I call in my guides. And I know how to call in my joy guides. I know how to call in my, everything, all the guides. You have joy guides, you have love guides, you have all of these guides. But anyway, my favorite, I even have parking guides. If I go to the store, I say, okay, and I just kind of do my thing, and I talk to my guides, and all of a sudden a parking appears. I know you're not going to believe it, because if it's never happened to you, we have a tendency to not believe what we have not experienced. And we are incredulous if we have not experienced it. But I promise you, it's true. Anyway, and if my friend were here, she could tell you it's true, because her and I have been friends since I was 17, and she has witnessed a lot of, I would say, really weird things happening. Okay? Yeah, I know. I don't want to use the scary words, right? Anyway, okay, let me tell you a little bit about how it also, whatever this energy is, how it affects people around me, and so that you can understand how your energy affects other people. Maybe not to the same degree mine does, but I promise it will affect people. Okay, so one day we're driving to the store. My friend is in the passenger seat. And I say to her, I'm going to call in my joy guides because you need some cheering up. And she goes, oh, no. And I said, yes, you need to be cheered up. Let's call in the joy guides. She said, fine, but make sure that your joy guides don't mess with me. Now, this wasn't the first time I called in my joy guides when she was around, so she knew how they love to play. So we got out of the car and we walked into the parking lot and then into the store, right? And the whole time we were in the store, things kept happening. Things kept falling off the shelf. Some other person with a different shopping cart bashed into her. Just things were falling out of her hand. So she looked at me. She said, "I swear, if your joy guides do something to me, Marti, I'm going to hit you." And as we walked into the parking lot, every single can in her cart began rolling out onto the blacktop, onto the pavement. One by one, cars were backing up. People were laughing because she was running in circles yelling, "Marti, tell your guides to stop." She used a stronger word, but I'm going to use messing with me. And then she says, "And if they can't speak English, here it is in Spanish. Dile a tus amiguitos que dejen de molestarme." Right? So the moment I told them to stop, it stopped. But not before all of her cans had rolled down and we were laughing so hard to try to go pick them up. And people got out of their cars to help us pick up the rolling cans. And we were just laughing. It was just hilarious. So we laughed so hard that day. And she still hates my guides to this day. But she says she does, right? But I honestly think she secretly loves them. So anyway, mujeres hermosas chulas, here is why I'm sharing this with you today. We are living in an age of AI. It's going faster than we all expected. Deep fakes, voice cloning, manipulated images, synthetic narratives, and a nervous system that feels the static in the air. We can feel all this. I know I can. I can feel the nervous system in the air. I have to meditate every day, and I have to breathe deeply for about 3 to 5 minutes before I go to sleep. So the static, I feel it in the air. It's not fear, it's alertness. It's like, okay. And here's what unsettles me. It's not the innovation, because technology is neutral. What unsettles me is the disconnection that's happening to people. You see, and I mean disconnection from your intuitive self. When intuition is mocked, when discernment is dismissed, when people believe everything they see because it looks polished, hermanas, chulas, hermosas. That's the scary part, because discernment, the only way to protect yourself from all of that is discernment. Discernment is protection, right? Because we are living in this so AI crazy world. For decades, though, we've been really minimizing intuition. Some call it imagination. Some call it woo-woo. Some call it fantasy. Some call it unbelievable and they don't believe. But let me tell you, mi gente hermosa, intuition is a pattern recognition at a deeper level. That's all it is. It's a pattern recognition at a deeper level. And you're hearing a lot of talk right now about, the intuition that we need to have, stepping out of the matrix. Intuition, hermanas chulas hermosas, is energetic intelligence. It's the body processing information faster than logic can explain it. In a world where images are fabricated and voices are cloned, your nervous system becomes your compass. And you have to protect that nervous system. And this is something that I'm asking you, all of you, to teach your children how to feel the truth in their bodies. This is what I do in my child's, I teach yoga for children, right? I teach yoga for children, and I have manners for children. I teach it's a children's course. If we do not, here's the caveat, if we do not teach our children how to feel the truth in their bodies, they're going to believe every synthetic voice they hear. I mean, it was so crazy. We don't even know if the videos that we're watching are true or deep fakes. So, madres, hermosas, if you are a madre, protect your children and teach them how to feel the truth in their bodies. As a mother, that protective energy rises inside of me. So when I tell you, I want to share with you, not from panic, but from responsibility. Es muy responsable decirles a ustedes que con todo lo que está pasando en AI, tenemos que cuidar a nuestros hijos. Tenemos que enseñarles cómo sentir la verdad en nuestros cuerpos. Porque si no, cada video que tiene AI lo van a creer. So, as a mother, like I said before, the protective energy rises inside of me, not from panic, not from fear, but from responsibility. Because this is not about being psychic. This is about leadership. It's about spiritual leadership. It's about servant leadership. It's about empathetic entrepreneurship. So, just stop. People always ask me, so how do I do this? Well, I'm going to give you a quick lesson. You take a deep breath, inhale. Make sure you inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth, with your right hand on your heart and your left hand on the pit of your stomach. Inhale. And ask yourself, does this feel true? And notice the voice that you're going to hear in your head. If it's either going to say yes or no, or notice if you feel like this pull forward. When you pull forward, when you feel that pull forward, it means yes. When you feel the push backward, it means no. So ask yourself and teach your kids to ask themselves, does this feel true? Now, let me ask you this. Can you slow down enough to listen to the whisper instead of the noise? The noise is everything that we see out there. The honking, the yelling, the screaming, the laughing, the cars, the helicopters, the airplanes, the water. I mean, that's all noise. But slow down enough to hear the whisper. The voice I heard as a 4-year-old didn't shout. It whispered. It whispered, you can do this. You will be fine. Pon atención. That whisper has guided my healing work, my business, my relationships, my motherhood, and my leadership. Maybe, hermosas chulas, my daughters will write their book one day. But I hope one chapter says this. Our mom taught us how to listen. Because in a world filled with artificial everything, intuition may be the most human thing that we have left. Hermosas chulas. If you're still with me, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell on the Coach Marti Angel YouTube channel. And if you are listening anywhere you listen to your favorite shows, make sure to download the episode and share it out so that we can all become energetic beings. Because, amigas, if today's episode helped you Toma este momentito to continue this conversation with your children. I've created simple resources designed to help you build income online with clarity and confidence inside my store. Everything is created with ease, sustainability, and legacy in mind. I want to leave a legacy of Latina leaders behind me who are servant leaders so that one day my epitaph reads, Professor Marti, thank you so much. Because of you, I didn't quit. So once again, hermosas chulas, this is your host for the Marti Angel YouTube channel, Coach Marti Angel YouTube channel, and your host of the Mujer de Éxito Unbounded show, saying gracias por estar aquí. If this episode resonated, help me reach more mujerpreneurs by sharing it, subscribing, downloading the episode, and finding the links in my show notes. And as always, les dejo un fuerte abrazo, wishing you the most magical day. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.